Welcome back to Moonlight Reel for a quick off-the-cuff video about my werewolf stack of books. I've dumped them all on the table and I'm going to pull them out and tell you about them. This one's ended up on top. Werewolves, a field guide to shapeshifters, lycanthropes, and man-beasts by Dr. Bob Curran. Bob Curran is tremendously prolific. He's written vampires, he's written demons, he's written dark fairies, he's written a giant vampire book this thick. He has written books pretty much like this on every occult and supernatural topic. And this book is basically a collection of legends and sightings mixed together. Contents: Shadow of the Wolf, Man into Beast, and some accounts of stories from different places, Irish werewolves, French werewolves. So he's a good writer, so this is a perfectly good kind of starter werewolf book to get. It's a mixture of the ye olde legends and modern sightings and bits and bobs from fiction, but it is itself a non-fiction book. The back describes it as everything you need to know about werewolves. In Werewolves, Dr. Bob Curran examines the psychological roots of this profane linking of human and beast. Do the origins of such a belief lie in the supernatural world, or are there other explanations? How has the discovery of feral children shaped our idea of human beasts? The author also considers the use of genetic engineering, in this case the fusing of human and animal genes in order to cure human diseases and alleviate suffering. Is the idea of man turning into beast really so far-fetched? And it's not really so far-fetched. I think pretty soon we'll all have our fur and tails if we want them through science rather than magic, but unfortunately not yet. So this is a book that I would certainly recommend, and I will put a link down below. Next on the pile are a couple of sillier books. This is When Werewolves Attack, a field guide to dispatching ravenous flesh-ripping beasts. And it's basically like the zombie survival guide except for werewolves. It has small amounts of folklore. It's mostly about weapons and stuff like that. It says it contains the dark and ravenous history of werewolves, blood-curdling tales of real attacks that I would take with a grain of salt, how to track and identify a lycanthrope in both human and wolf state, highly effective counter-werewolf techniques and weapons, tricks on trapping and training your shape-shifting assistant. So if you want to trap a werewolf and get it to help you hunt other werewolves, this is the book for it. Well, here are some ways to detect a werewolf. Werewolves are likely to have red hair while in human form. This belief may have been invented by the English during times of trouble with the Irish to blame Irish people for things. Not all red-haired people are werewolves, but many werewolves are red-haired people. I don't know if that's true. It also has this nice illustration of a claw coming out of a bag of dog food. So yeah, this is a zombie survival guide type of book. It might be useful if you are large and physically fit and can swing a sword and have a werewolf problem. From the other side of the track, How to Be a Werewolf. And this is a post-Twilight, as you can see, thoroughly illustrated. This page is about dating hints. Book about how to be a werewolf. This is, on the other side, How to Spot Human Hunters. Know your enemy, know their traps. Ways to suppress your werewolf nature by drinking potions to remain human or locking yourself up. And ways to embrace your inner animal. And it has, these are the legends and sightings are in these itty-bitty paragraphs. So mostly it's just a fun book. And I kind of like books like this that, you know, pretend that there really are shapeshifters out there when, as far as the writer of this book knew, there aren't any. This is how to set up your ultimate werewolf den. So it's kind of a goofy book, but I think it's fun. This is different types of werewolves. Here's the Wolfman. Poor Lawrence Talbot never found rest from his wolf nature. And other types, including the Lycan, because everybody seems to like Underworld. I have not seen it. Skinwalkers, which are generally evil, but in this one it doesn't say that they are. So that's that book. Fun, not tremendously researchy, legendary, and useful for serious things, but you might enjoy it. There's also a vampire one, which I don't have, and I think I got it from the library, but I don't remember much about it. These three books pick up all together. They are Hunting the American Werewolf, the Michigan Dog Man, Werewolves and Other Unknown Canines Across the USA, and Real Wolfmen, True Encounters in Modern America. These books are all by Linda S. Godfrey, and she's written 5 or 6 or 7 books about werewolf sightings. The first one is called The Beast of Bray Road and is about a very famous upright werewolf dog man something sighting in Wisconsin in 1936. It's The Beast of Bray Road. I will link down below to the Wikipedia, but you can look that up anywhere. So Linda Godfrey wrote the book about it, and then she wrote a whole bunch more books about werewolf sightings. And that's pretty much what these are. They're not much history. They're mostly just sightings, including I was driving down the road and I saw werewolf type of sightings, and also more spiritual sightings. I think there's one about a guy who was in his house and like stepped out of the bathroom, and there in the hall was standing a werewolf, and he went, "Ah!" and the werewolf disappeared. So that sighting was obviously not a flesh and blood upright canine person. It was some kind of a ghost, or who knows what it was. So that's what Linda Godfrey writes about. Her books are very good if you want lots of sightings and lots of, like, stories people have told her. She has a website and a blog, and people send her their werewolf sighting stories, and then the werewolves that people see make it into her books. Since she's written so many, and I think they're fairly popular, I think my library may even have 1 or 2 of them, so you might check your library. They're not as rare as some of the other werewolf books out there. Sorry, cough warning. So this is, we're getting into the ye olde legendary territory. This is The Book of Werewolves, Being an Account of a Terrible Superstition by Sabine Baring-Gould. Sabine is, I think, mostly a girl's name these days, but this Sabine is a man. And it was originally written in, let me see, the 1830s, 1840s sometime. It was right here at the beginning. I was like, oh, I'll turn right to it. I don't need to make a note. So this book here is a 70s reprint of an original that was from the 1800s. And Sabine Baring-Gould was a preacher of some sort, a churchman, and he was also a prolific author. He wrote piles of fiction and quite a lot of nonfiction, including this book, which is about history and legends of werewolves. It's lycanthropy among the ancients. It has stories from ancient Greece and stuff. And then we go worldwide, the werewolf in the north, Viking stories and things. Scandinavia, Middle Ages, where you start to get saints that turn into werewolves, saints that cure werewolves, things like that. And then a couple of chapters, these chapters are about serial killers. I think Mr. Baring-Gould also talks about people who do wolf-like things, who prey upon the innocent without actually shape-shifting, but just kill people. And so there are chapters about that, the kind of werewolf evil done by non-werewolves. Folklore chapter, natural causes of lycanthropy, innate cruelty in 3 forms, priests, just more stories. Mythological origin of the werewolf stories, of the werewolf myth, talks about legends of people turning into animals and animals turning into people, things like that. Some more serial killers, and some more werewolves. And last, anomalous case, the human hyena, which I think is a fairly, you'll read it in a lot of these books, a story from Africa about a witch doctor who claimed that he turned the princess into a hyena, and then the hunters caught a hyena wearing the princess's earring. So possibly he really did turn her into a hyena, or possibly he disappeared her and caught a hyena and put her earrings in its ears. And the last chapter is a sermon on werewolves, which apparently he would have given since he was a preacher. I don't think any preachers give interesting sermons like that anymore. So this is, I would say, a very good book if you're looking for legitimate, since he was writing in the 1800s, much closer to the ye olde times when these legends actually appeared. But he also is of the firm opinion that werewolves are evil people, and has the whole overlap between people who might actually shapeshift with people who are just evil and kill people and are horrible serial killers. Now, from about the same time, we have the Right Reverend Montague Summers. And Montague Summers, oh my gosh, he was an odd duck. He was, how can I even describe? I've read about him, and I have most of his other books. He was also, he lived from like the 1840s to 1940s or something, so turn of the century kind of time. He was also a churchman, and I think he would like to have believed himself a brave and daring witch hunter. Montague Summers seems to have believed everything. He's written books about vampires, he's written books about witches, he's written books about werewolves. He enjoys his research, and he believes everything he reads, including, like, the witchcraft testimonies and werewolf testimonies that were gotten by torture. And, of course, you shouldn't believe stuff that's gotten by torture, because people will say anything if you're, stop torturing me, I'll tell you whatever you want, kind of stuff. But Montague Summers believed all of it. And he was just a very odd duck. He was kind of, I don't think he was gay, but he was fabulous kind of thing. He liked to dress in strange clothes and carry around a big folder that said werewolves and go into the library, vampires. He liked to go into the reading room of the library of the British Museum carrying a folder that said vampires in big letters. So he was that kind of a guy. So I would not recommend his books unless you're very, very patient. They're written in, there's a lot of foreign language. He drops into Latin, he drops into French. They're very dense to read. But there is some good information if you don't mind wading through all of it. This one that I've randomly opened to has stuff about spells recited by the sorcerer who's turning into a werewolf. It says they're profane and horrible in the last degree. They are accursed to know. So Montague Summers also believed all supernatural stuff was evil and of the devil and would kill you and eat you and all that stuff. So if you're a very, very serious scholar, try to read his stuff, but get it out of the library if you can first, because it's kind of a hard slog and there may not be much that you can use in it. I got them, of course, because at a certain point in my history, I wanted all the serious scholarly books, and then I got rid of most of them because they were too serious and too hard-going for me. So this one is less serious. This is a lot of the same old legends, but it's packaged in a somewhat newer format. So this series, the For the Millions series, was written in the 70s, I think. It's the 70s. And it also has a lot of the same things, old stories, theory about, are werewolves transforming their bodies, or are they just kind of having an illusion transformation where you see a wolf but underneath it is a human shape? This book does not assume werewolves are all evil. And it also has ye olde stories and sightings from legend, not modern sightings, but, oh boy, I'm losing my mind here. Sightings from legend and sightings from old stories. I think the author, Marika Chris, probably looked at these other books and then put them into her book. Mildly interesting, there were a lot of other books about the supernatural from the For the Million series, some of which I want to buy. The same author, no, there's one of Charms, Spells, and Curses, which I just put on my Amazon wish list. A treasure trove of witchery, villainy, and black and white magic. Ancient names for roots and other ingredients are modernized. I'm going to buy that book. The author of this book also has one about witchcraft, and just randomly to prove it's from the 70s, there's another book about Scientology, because this is the 70s, before Scientology was known as a weird cult. It was just a thing. Scientology by Walter, a step-by-step introduction to the new and personal emotional discipline that may help you join those who've expanded their abilities. To show that there was a time before Scientology was a cult when it was just like everybody thought it was a legit thing. So this is a book I would advise anybody looking for somewhat older werewolf lore. It's easy enough to read, it has pretty good information in it, and it is not that expensive on Amazon. One more in the list. This is just a Werewolves by Nigel Suckling, and he has a bunch of other books, most of which I have. He has a vampire one, and a witch one, and a unicorn one. And they're basically gift books. They're this kind of book. Oh, common causes of becoming a werewolf. Being bitten by a werewolf, inheriting the condition from a parent, being a 7th consecutive son or daughter, by choice and the use of magic potions or belts, drinking water from a wolf's footprint, drinking water downstream from a wolf, eating the flesh, particularly the heart of a wolf or something it has killed, though in some places this is said to have the opposite effect of strengthening the eater against all kinds of deviltry. Eating human flesh, especially that of violent criminals. Don't eat human flesh, watchers. Being cursed by a sorcerer or a troll in Scandinavia. So this is mostly just all the useful stuff in nice little bites. How to recognize a werewolf, ways to defend against them, ways to destroy them, and then just little stories. Myths and legends is this chapter. Werewolves in history. The Beast of God. You know, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. You can look it up for yourself. Beast of Gavadan. I know how to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced a million times. I just can't do it right now. And Werewolves in Fiction has all of these list of movies about werewolves. So that's what this is. Not terribly useful, but kind of cute and fun. And if you need your werewolf information in bite-sized nuggets, it's quite good for that. So, that is the Werewolf Stack. I will post links down below to all of the Goodreads for all of these books, so you can decide if there are any you want to hunt down for yourself. I can't believe this is all the werewolf books I have. I feel like there should be more, but there aren't any. So, this has been a selection of werewolf books for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back. Maybe I'll do the same thing with the Unicorns and Dragons stack, since it's also pretty small. The Vampire stack is going to take a couple. I'm not sure how I'm going to go through all of those and talk about them. But I will figure that out maybe for another video next week. Goodbye for now.